Yeah, I'll just say this, that nobody's ever succeeded in business quitting. So you might want to like adopt a philosophy of don't quit on a bad day because everybody quits on a bad day.
Welcome back to Pending and Trending. I'm here today with Jordan Adler. Jordan is a highly successful entrepreneur, network marketing professional, and the author of the best selling book, Beach Money. He's widely known for his expertise in relationship marketing and for teaching others how to build residual income and build flexibility and generate compounding effort. Jordan, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Deidre. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Jordan, you've built an incredible career and you're known as one of the top networkers in the world. What pivotal moment inspired you to write and share your blueprint with others?
You know, what happened was I was doing a weekly training conference call many years ago, like 30 years ago. And every time I do a call, I'd write out my notes because we weren't even working on computers yet. And I put them in a box. And over the course of 10 years or so, I had a big box full of yellow notepads with lots and lots of notes of ideas and training tips and things that had worked for me. And I thought this needs to be a book. And the title came from a classified ad that I placed that I had really very little success with. But many years ago, started placing little classified ads. And one of them, I would get like 10 times as many calls as all the others whenever I titled it Beach Money. And beach money really conjures up certain ideas. It conjures up a philosophy. People hear it and they know what it is, they know what it means for them. And so I thought that would be a great title for the book. And I didn't intend to sell the book in the open market. It was really going to be just a training guide for my team, for my network marketing team. But what happened is it got picked up and started going crazy and sold copies all over the world. So that's how it all kind of came
Wild,
together.
amazing. That's great. And it is a great title because it's a feel good title, right? It creates a
Yes.
vision in a lot of different ways. So that's great. So what can you tell us what the core philosophy is behind Beach Money and how does it apply in the real estate
You
world?
bet. And I've worked with a lot of realtors over the years, many thousands actually, on group calls and then individually. The philosophy is the vision to work from anywhere, to build a life of flexibility and freedom and compounding effort. So, obviously, sales generate revenue and revenue creates commissions. And we can do that with the tools we have today because we have our computers and our phones, and we can pretty much be anywhere. I mean, there's many realtors that travel, they work from anywhere, but they sell homes because we have the technology to do that today. And realtors can look at the difference between linear income, that's working once and getting paid once, and nonlinear income, which is working once and getting paid over and over again. And there's many different ways to do that. So, but you're getting paid for sales. So, if there are things that you can do in your career that would align you with vehicles that pay you, say, monthly for repeat sales, not just for your personal efforts, but for the efforts of other people, that's nonlinear income, getting a cut of the sales of other people. And sometimes that means that can mean monthly. And so, for example, systems, an example, this wouldn't be a real estate example, but would be if you had vending machines, if you had 10 vending machines out there that you paid, let's say, $10,000 each for, and those vending machines are selling products, whether you're there or not, obviously there's work that has to be done to collect the money and stock the product and all that. But that is a form of creating a level of flexibility in your schedule because you control that. So in the real estate business, there are things that you could do around tools that realtors would use that, for example, like a CRM that pays you every time they pay their membership on their CRM or their monthly fee on their CRM, and you're getting paid over and over again because that's a sale being made and you're getting paid that money. Go high level as an example. I'm just throwing that out there as an example. They have commission based
Mhm.
programs where you can sign people up on their product as an agency and get paid. Send out cards, the company that I'm involved with, the same thing. And it takes work and you have to build it, but over time you can create a level of freedom, a level of flexibility in your schedule because you're getting paid over and over again based on those monthly sales.
That's great. So that's
And then, of course, one more thing, Deidre. Obviously, being a realtor, investment properties, right? There's obviously a way to
mhm.
if you build something where you have a team of people that manage your real estate and you've got a real estate portfolio, even a small one, where people are paying you rents and you're getting paid commission on those rents. I mean, you're getting paid on those rents every month. And over time, you could build something up where you've got, say, a portfolio of 10 rental properties. At one point, I had 49 rental properties. I don't anymore, but I did. I wished I'd held on to them.
Yeah, right. We all
Yeah,
hold on to them for the long haul, right?
that's right.
Real
Yeah,
estate over time appreciates. So you said
yeah,
something interesting. You said that real estate agents, we bring our you bring your computer, you can work from anywhere, you go away, you work from anywhere. And I guess that's the upside. The downside is that you work from everywhere, right? So wherever you go,
yeah.
you
You're
work.
always right. Well, and that's pretty much being an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
The serious realtors and real estate brokers, they're on call all the time
absolutely.
because they treat it as their profession and they want to make sure that their customers and clients know that they're there for them. So, yeah, and you can't really use technology
Absolutely.
you can't really use technology to replace that personal caring.
Yeah, and that's so true, which is a perfect segue into the next, topic as far as that relationship marketing and what is the biggest mistake real estate professionals and others that are entrepreneurs make when they're trying to build authentic connections.
Yeah, I would call it one and done, not valuing the long-term relationship. So we need to view a sale not as a sale, not as a transaction, but view it as what is the lifetime value of that customer. So if you get a client that buys a home from you every few years or buys a home, sells a home, refers somebody, and let's say your commission, what would be an average commission, Deidre, today on the sale of a home? And I know it depends on the price of the home, but what would be average?
$10,000.
So let's say $10,000. Well, how many $10,000 commission checks will you receive in the life of a customer? Let's say they buy or sell 5 homes. Let's just use that as an example. Well, that's 50,000. Now that doesn't even include referrals. So there's a lifetime value of a customer. So the things that you do, this is a mistake that I see that most realtors, most salespeople in general make, is they don't think about the lifetime value of the customer. They think about the transaction. They get their check, and then you never hear from them again. And I've had probably over the years, gosh, I bet I've used probably at least 10 realtors, maybe more, over the course of the years, and most of them I never hear from them again. That's not a great way to create a lifetime valued customer. So imagine that the reason some realtors, they don't have to work very hard. They just get their referral, they get their calls, they get the referrals from people that are ready to buy. And the reason is because they laid the groundwork through some of the actions that they've taken.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. So, how can agents shift and really focus on the true value of their service?
Yeah. So residual comes from teaching other people how to sell value. So let's talk about value. There's a story that you probably heard about, the $100 bill auction. Did you hear about that?
I have, but why don't you tell us all?
Yeah, so I'm going to try and make a very long story short. I actually started on a conference call with my assistant. This was 20 years ago. I said, I think I can auction this $100 bill off for $1,000. And she said, well, that's a stupid idea. You can't get somebody to pay more than $100 for a $100 bill. And I said, I think I can. And I gave myself 8 minutes. It was part of a training that I was doing. And I said, anybody that wants this $100 bill for $50, text Megan. She was my assistant. And some texts came in, and then there were about 200 people on the call. And then I did $75, and some texts came in. Some people don't believe it's true. Am I going to really sell them a $100 bill for $50 or $75? When I hit $100, there were still a few people that wanted it. They'd be willing to trade $100 for a $100 bill. Well, I realized that when I got it over 100, then people stopped bidding. So I said, what if I was a top leader in the company? So what if I signed the $100 bill? Well, I found out what my signature was worth because people were willing to pay more for it with the signature. And then I said, I'll have the founder of our company and a few of our executives. And I kept driving it up. And then eventually it got to like where it was, $250 and $300. And then I said, I'm going to put it in a nice frame that you can hang it over your desk and maybe it'll bring you good luck. I don't know. No promises there. And then it got up to 500, 600, and then eventually a woman from Pittsburgh, actually, Linda Thomas, paid $1,000 for it in 8 minutes. I didn't even know her, and she paid 1,000. And then after the auction, I said the money's going to be given to a charity. So I did that. I did it again in front of a group of like 700 people or 1,000 people, I don't remember, and I got $7,500 for it. And then years later, I was in front of a group of 9,000 people. A lot of very influential people in the crowd. Didn't know, I knew a handful of people there. And Tony Robbins was backstage, Rob Diedrich, the guy that that did the show Ridiculousness. Robert Kiyosaki was backstage, Bob Proctor was backstage, a lot of big names. And I had them all sign a $100 bill. And then I went on stage and I pulled out a $100 bill out of my wallet that had no signatures. And I did the same thing. And I know it's hard to believe, but it's all out there. The $100 bill in front of 9,000 people, and this was not set up. There was only one other person in the room that knew what I was going to do. It sold for $3.2 million. In 8 minutes, and you can find it. The video's on Facebook. It's edited a little bit, but it is on Facebook. If you put in my name, $100 bill auction on the Facebook search bar, GoPro, put in GoPro. Anyway, but what's the moral of the story? I did a training immediately following it on all 3 times I did this exercise. I did a training that talked about value, like what value really is a representation of what people will pay for something. And in today's world, because so much is commoditized as a result of technology, anybody can start anything today on a shoestring with technology. And of course, it requires an investment to build something up significant. However, because technology it's so easy to access today, you got to look at what's the differentiator. And it really comes down to you and the things you do with your customer that can add perceived value for them. Like, why would they pay full price to do business with you if they can go get a discount somewhere else? Well, it's because what you bring to the table. So looking at things you can do to be a concierge service to your customers, something that's going to make them say, like, what can you do extra that nobody else will do? And you can make that stuff up. And that's going to differentiate you to the point where and there's some things we'll talk about here, Deidre, in a minute, but some things you can specifically do that will help to increase your value. So that's all I did with the $100 bill. And at first it started off as an experiment, and I thought I was going to get 25,000 at that big event for it. But it just kept going up, because as soon as it hit 25,000, it was no longer about the money. It was about being recognized in front of a group of 9,000 people. It was about ego. It was about competition. So there's value in that for some people, not for everybody, but for some people. And that's what drove the value up. In the beginning, it was the signatures, Tony Robbins' signature, Bob Proctor's signature, Robert Kiyosaki's signature, my signature, blah, blah, blah. That was driving it up, and then the frame drove it up a little bit, but then it was all about ego and winning. There were certain people that wanted to win. We ended up giving that money to the Starkey Hearing Foundation. It was the largest donation they'd ever received in their 35-year history to help fit kids with hearing aids all over the world. And they didn't know that until after the auction was over with. So taking a look at your business, whatever business, whether you're a broker, whether you're a realtor, whether you're a commercial realtor, whether you're a property manager, what can you do to be concierge level so that people, when they think of what you do, the first person they think of and the only person they think of is you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our team actually specializes in that. We are 100%
Nice.
repeat clients and referrals, and have been 95% plus for many years. So
Very
on
cool.
that topic, what are some relationship marketing trends that you're seeing right now, as far as in the general business that you're working with?
Well, first of all, if you want to talk about trends, I mean, obviously AI is really a big part of all of our lives right now, and it's in the early stages. But the longer it's around, the more it's going to be replacing things that we do, and some things that we even wouldn't think it could replace, it will replace. So that would be a trend, and I believe that in a Jetsons world, the Flintstones are going to win. People are really annoyed with the amount of technology they're getting bombarded with, mostly Like if you think about we're getting bombarded with emails, and we're getting bombarded with automated text messages, and we're getting bombarded if we're scrolling social media. Every third scroll is an ad, and AI bots are creating the ads, and they're very creative and very enticing.
Mhm.
And all of that is not stuff that people crave. They don't crave more ads. They don't crave more marketing. They don't crave more strategy from you. What they do crave is appreciation. And so, in a Jetsons world, the Flintstones are going to win. What does that mean? It means that with all this technology, and we'll embrace technology, and we know that it's going to benefit us and the consumer, but at the same time, the thing that's going to make somebody use you is the appreciation that you pour into your network. Not just the people that do business with you, but the people that don't do business with you that might sometime in the future. So when everybody has their noses buried in their phones, what can you do to make them like lift their head up and go, wow, you really care about me? Yeah. So all this disconnection that's created by technology. And if you question that, just go into any room where there's a bunch of people, like an airport. Everybody's got their noses buried in their phones. That represents a level of disconnection. People are disconnected from each other. What can you do to build the connection back? And that's really, pouring love into your network.
Love that. Love that. So I love your Jetsons Flintstone analogy. I think that's
Thank you.
super cool. I was a
I
Flintstone.
can't say that I came up with it. I stole it from Gary Vaynerchuk,
Okay.
but
Well, I
it's
love it.
good.
It is a good
And I
one.
don't know, he probably stole it. He probably stole it from someone as well. So I've heard it a few
Rip off
times.
and duplicate, right? But yeah, no, I love that one.
Yeah.
That is great. That is great. And I agree 100% that people are bombarded by all of the AI and the tech, and we need it in some ways, but in other ways, it's that personal connection and the things that we do to go above and beyond for people in general, right? And some of the simplest things can just mean so much to people. So it's really nice to be
Yeah.
thought of on any day, right? So how are you seeing technology change the way that we maintain trust with our clients?
Yeah. I think using the technology that's available to you to scale in a personal way. So I'm going to use this as a shameless plug for what I do. We've got a platform called Send Out Cards where you can send cards in the mail using technology. Have you heard of Send Out Cards before, Deidre?
I have heard of that you handwrite the cards then, right? Like they look like they're handwritten
Well,
cards, but they're done
I
by
don't
you.
handwrite. See, we don't handwrite the cards, but our technology does, but they're
Okay.
personal. So you can
Okay.
jump on your phone or your computer and create a card and put pictures in there and even add a gift and hit the send button and the card's in the mail the next day. That's using technology to
Sure.
do the personal thing, right? So
Mhm.
that's just an example. And I know that's not what this podcast is used for, but I wanted to just, at least, because that is an example of using the technology. I think it's important to keep things as personal as possible in today's world. So, and I know we kind of, beat that dead horse a few times,
Right.
but it's important. It's super important. Like, for example, lifetime value of a customer. What are some things you can do? Well, one of the things you can do is send cards. Another thing you can do is send gifts. I think that's really important. Gifts that are unexpected, not because the customer or person did something for you, but just an unexpected gift to make them know that you were thinking about them. A quick text or a phone call just saying, "Hey, you're important to me. I'm thinking about you. How are you doing?" And they don't always have to be, most of this doesn't have to be automated. It can be keeping a list, an old school list, and just making sure that 2 or 3 or 4 times a year you're connecting with your customer or potential customer regularly. But you have to use systems to do that. So for every, let's say, 100 people that you do this with, if the people that don't do it, they might get 2 customers out of 100. The people that do it over a long period of time are going to get 20. That's the difference between getting 2 customers and 20 customers because they're making multiple contacts with people every single year. Are you familiar with Joe Girard, Deidre?
I'm not.
So Joe Girard is in the Guinness Book of World Records 12 years in a row. He just passed away a few years ago in his 90s. But he's in the Guinness Book of World Records as the #1 salesman in the world for 12 years in a row. He sold 16,000 individual cars in 12 years
Yeah.
over a period of his over the period of his career. Every day he'd go to work at his little dealership in Detroit there would be a line of people waiting for the doors to unlock to come in to buy a car from Joe. He sold 6 cars a day. They weren't coming there to be sold. They were coming there to buy. And what Joe did is he made sure that every person he met, every person that bought or sold a car through him, received multiple communications throughout the year. A lot of it was handwritten. A lot of it was personal phone calls. This applies today as much as it did back then. Anytime somebody thought about buying or selling a car, they thought of Joe, nobody else. If their daughter grew up and needed a car, they'd call Joe because Joe's going to give them a good deal. I trust Joe. Joe's going to give me a good deal. I trust Joe. And I know Joe's solid. He's not going to screw me. I know Joe is going to educate me and treat me right. And so, but things like cards and gifts and phone calls and getting together for coffee for no reason, just let's grab coffee. I want to hear what's going on in your life. Doing that on a regular basis with the people that you meet and the people that you know and people that have done business with you will turn people into lifetime customers.
I love that. And that's actually my favorite part of what I do in business. That's what's kept me going for so long. It feeds my soul.
Nice. I love it.
Love that. Love that. So that's great. So let's just switch back for a moment. And, we talked about building some passive income when we first started. And so what will a highly successful passive income driven real estate business look like 10 years from now, in your opinion?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Nobody really knows, although based on the direction things are going, it appears that much of what we're doing today will be done by automation. And it's almost like, who would have ever guessed that you could buy a car from a vending machine and that the car would be delivered to your front door? Seriously, like we couldn't have predicted that, but that's what Carvana does.
Absolutely.
You order your car on. I just bought a car sight unseen. It got delivered to me last week. It's a car that I've been thinking about for 3 years. I did all the communication back and forth with the seller online and pictures and videos, and then we did all of our paperwork online, and it was delivered to my front door. I didn't ever test drive it, not once. The first time I drove it was after I owned it.
Yeah.
And that's happening in real estate. I know there's people buying and selling land today that they're doing it without ever going to the land.
Right.
And AI can do all that. AI bots can do all that for you. It can negotiate, it can all of it. So it's kind of it's an unknown for many of us. I mean, I'm 68 years old, so it's like, this is like really foreign land for me. The whole thing is foreign territory for me. However, I do know this, that the human nature, as long as we are not robots, hopefully that will never happen. Human nature is such that people will need the human connection to win in this business. If you want the business, that's what it's going to take. And that's really where, my philosophy has always been very simple. I don't really have that much to say, but the stuff that I do have to say is very fundamental and very simple. And I think that is the key, is always staying dialed into that. And then the second thing regarding passive income, because that was kind of where we started, if you never think about systems for creating passive income and you just always are trading time for money, that's what your life will be like. And so in my 20s, it took me many years before I dialed it in. Like, I'm talking 13, 14 years before I ever really dialed this in to provide that flexibility and freedom that I have today. Many years, many failures. It's not easy, but I did focus in on things I could do to get paid multiple times on one sale. And the result of that was, over time, I began to align with opportunities that did that for me. Like, there's lots of ways you can do that. You can do that, like I said, you could do it from vending machines. You could do it from selling life insurance. You could do it from buying rental properties. You could do it from being a property manager. You could do it from subscription-based sales. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. But the point is that if you focus on that as part of your trajectory, then eventually it will lead you to a point where you have that. But if you don't, you'll never have it. So that's just something to think about, and it doesn't, maybe it's like, for the next 5 years, I'm going to spend a percentage of my time pursuing things that pay me multiple times for a single sale. Or something that you can build a team and get a cut of their sales. Those things are really powerful to create a lot of flexibility in your career path that you would never get just selling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of great things that you've shared for our
Thank you
listeners to
so
think
much.
about for sure. Is there any last thing that you'd like to share before we sign off?
Yeah, I'll just say this, that nobody's ever succeeded in business quitting. So you might want to like adopt a philosophy of don't quit on a bad day, because everybody quits on a bad day. So I say don't quit on a bad day. And then when you're having a bad day, you just keep working, even though you don't feel like it. And then you'll have a good day and you won't want to quit. And that the only people that make it in business are the ones that don't quit. You have to keep going, no matter whether you feel like it or not, because every single successful business person did it working through those challenges. And if you don't work through those challenges, you never learn the lesson, so you never succeed.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for being on with us today. And our listeners can find you on LinkedIn and
LinkedIn // beach money, or actually easiest way to find me would be like Linktree,
Okay.
linktr.ee / beach money, or you can find me at Beach Money Jordan on Instagram, at Beach Money Jordan on Instagram.
Very good. Thank you so very much for being on with us today.
My pleasure. Great seeing you, Deidre. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
And that's such a powerful place to leave this conversation. Success isn't built on perfect days. It's built on consistency, relationships, and continuing to show up even when things feel hard. Jordan shared so many incredible insights today, from the power of compounding effort and relationship marketing to creating real value in a world that's becoming more automated every day. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is that in a world full of technology, people still crave genuine connection. Thank you again, Jordan, for being here and for sharing your wisdom. And to our listeners, if this episode inspired you, make sure to subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and remember, the people who win are the people who keep going. Until next time, this is Pending and Trending with Deidre Quinn. If this episode was helpful, check out the next episodes of Pending and Trending for more real conversations around building wealth and financial freedom.